Welcome back to Donington Park, everyone, for our second race of the day, the third and final race of the weekend for the Ginetta G40 Cup and the GRDC. Their second race earlier on saw Tom Golding take another race victory. He could be on for another clean sweep, his second clean sweep of the year, winning all three races in the same weekend. And if he does, he will be champion provisionally. Giles Dawson, who lines up alongside him in this race, has to beat Tom Golding in this one in order to keep his already very slender championship hopes alive. But based on the pace that we've seen from those two in the previous two races, although Giles Dawson is closer to Tom Golding's speed this weekend, arguably, than he was at Brands Hatch last time, I'm still not convinced he's going to be able to do it. But with the pressure on, nothing to lose, Giles Dawson might be able to pull something out of the bag. In the other categories within the GRDC, we've also got championships on the verge of being wrapped up for Stephen Docker in GRDC and Mark Warren in the GRDC Rookies category. And we'll try and keep you abreast of all of the official updates as and when we get them. Andy McEwen up here in the box, Graham Johnson alongside me again for this second race. It was a fascinating first race. I've been really interested all year, actually, about in this dynamic between Golding and Dawson, the psychological battle between the two of them. And you made the point in the previous race that over the last few races, Tom Golding really seems to have the psychological edge now over Giles Dawson. We saw that in that mistake that Giles made yesterday whilst trying to chase down the race leader, and again in race two, he wasn't able to keep up.
Exactly. I mean, I'm curious to know what's going to happen in this race. Has Dawson mentally conceded? So he'll be saying in the paddock, "Oh, I'm still going to beat him," but internally, only he knows the answer to that. Has he? How aggressive will he be at this race, for this start? Will we see him go hell for leather like he did in the last race? I'd like to think he would, but there's a little bit of me that thinks he might concede.
Well, let's see. He certainly was aggressive in the previous race, wasn't he? A bit of contact between the two of them going into the first corner. And again, they start on the front row together. Golding on pole with Giles Dawson alongside him. Row number two sees Chris White, who had a solid, if unspectacular, run to third place in the previous race. Mark Sansom, though, the exact opposite. He was a battling drive to fourth position for him. That is where he will start the third race again. Roy Alderslade and Paolo Scripo make up row number three, and then on the fourth row of the grid, we should have Robin Grimwood and Ignacio Zanon. Grimwood was in the thick of the battles in the previous race as well. Dropped a few places, but still a decent run for him to seventh. Mark Lee and Gary Wager round out the top 10, and then on row number 6 of the grid, right behind them, we will have Owen Hizzy, who had some slight bodywork damage after rattling over a curb in the previous race. And he's got Sean Fleming for company in 12th. Row number 7 of the grid for Neil Wallace, then John Curry, who had a spin at the first corner. These are all Chairman's Cup competitors now, running within the G40 Cup part of the race still, though. Lining up therefore ahead of the GRDCs. The last of the G40s is Adam Croft, who ended his race in the Coppice Gravel Trap. Brendan Ward is the first of the GRDC cars on the grid. Those cars start 10 seconds later than the G40 Cup. Graham Bishop is second, and Stephen Docker, the runaway championship leader for the second time this year, was not a winner yesterday. Both of those races have taken place here at Donington Park. Rupert Lasselet and Brendan Hafner are next, two of the front runners in the rookie category. In fact, the top two rookie drivers in the GRDC grid. And they round out the top 20 overall, just ahead of Mark Warren, who, similar to Stephen Docker really, his winning run was broken this weekend in the rookie category, and he was off the podium in the previous race. He's got Tom Holland alongside him, 22nd on the grid overall, ahead of Stephen Moore and Guillaume Lemeur, who had a spin down at the old hairpin in race number 2. Towards the back end of the grid now, Joe Butterworth and Peter Dilnott are next on the 13th row of the grid together. Then it should be Andrew Cohen-Ray and John Wyatt, who also had a spin at the very final corner of the race in race number 2. And they will line up right at the back of the field. Well, Golding and Dawson have put on a real show for us this weekend, this season. Last time here at Donington Park, they had some really good races as well. And if nothing else, I'm hoping that we do get some close competition between them. It's absolutely pivotal, isn't it, that Giles gets another good start. He's got to try and get ahead of Tom Golding and control the race from the front.
Yeah, he does. And I tell you what was just interesting, watching that green flag lap. It was a very quick pace. I don't know if you noticed, but some of the guys in the cars that have less grip, the GRDC, actually kind of struggling to keep up at points. So I think what possibly we're seeing there, a little bit cooler today, track temperature's a little cooler, you need to get more heat into the tyre, but actually I'm always talking about psychological games, and there'll be a little bit of showboating, a little bit of messing in with Dawson's head, where Golding's going, every now and then he's gone for a corner at absolute race speed and demonstrated he's champion-elect, but he doesn't want to be beaten.
No, he doesn't, and if he can leave this race more than 109 points ahead of Giles Dawson, he will be champion. So the way that it was explained to us is that if Golding wins all of the races and Giles Dawson finishes second in all of the races, that should give Golding provisionally at least the title. That is how the story has gone so far, but we have another race to go. 15 minutes of racing action from the Ginetta G40 Cup here at Donington Park. The 5-second board is showed. Will Dawson get another good start from the outside of row one? That is his first priority here. Watching the red lights, they go on now, they go out now, away they go. Good start made by Golding from pole position. Dawson immediately tries to move across to the right-hand side of the road, but he's not going to be level with Golding this time. Golding has the advantage. Dawson slots into second. Chris White third. There's contact further back. One car on the grass there. Paolo Scripo was involved in that. Mark Sansom is running wide at the first corner. It's a slightly messy start behind the leaders, but Tom Golding has been able to hold on to the advantage in GRDC. Looks as though that is going to be the pole sitter that holds on to the race lead, so that is Brendan Maud in the 55 car that has the edge into turn number one. Not such a good start that time then from Dawson, was it?
No, it wasn't. He tried to move the car over a little too early, I think, and that can induce a bit of wheel spin. I think Chris White's doing a very nice job, isn't he? I think he smells a bit of Dawson's blood as well.
Yeah, he was third in the previous race, and he's had a few podiums this year, has Chris. That was his third of the season. And yeah, he was a bit lonely in the previous race, so if he can go with the leaders, that's a key part of it though, isn't it? If you lose that toe and the leaders get away from you, it can be quite hard, especially if you're on your own with no one to work with. It can be quite hard to bridge that gap.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, but people say, is it not boring driving around by yourself? And honestly, trust me, it isn't. The work rate in these cars is very, very high. And the temperatures, even on a day like today, which is a little cooler, temperatures will still be somewhere inside these cockpits at around sort of 30, 35 degrees. You've got 4 layers of Nomex on, a balaclava, you're dressed to go and play in the snow. And all you can do in these cars is crack the window a little bit, and trust me, all it does is slow the car down. So I think it's keeping that level of concentration up when you're on your own is very, very difficult. Who's this? Is this Samson taking a bit of a stab at Scripo there?
It is, yeah. So they're side by side into the corner, and Gary Wager is also going to join in. They're 3 wide now up the hill. Sansom did not make the move work on Scripo, but Gary Wager and, in fact, the 74 car as well of Owen Hizzy, who goes on the inside of both of them. We're going to try and take advantage. Hizzy's going to gain 2 places out of that. Really great opportunistic driving. Again, I've said that, I've made this point a few times today, it's such a momentum circuit, this, and if you get cars in front of you running side by side, they hold each other up, and that is your time to strike.
Absolutely, and it's interesting to see how much faster Hizzy's going with his bonnet tied down, isn't it? But if you saw, he ran Samson wide on the exit. Well, that's what you want to try and do, just release the steering a little bit, and just make it clear to the car behind, look, you can go off if you want.
Yes, exactly. Give them the decision of whether to stand their ground on the outside. Hizzy's now going past Scripo. There's a spin for Mark Lee, who has lost it over the curb, I think, now, going through the crane of curves. That is...
He did well to hold that.
Didn't he? Just, yeah. I mean, you see drivers riding that curb quite a lot, but I suppose that is the danger. If you get too greedy, it will unsettle the car.
Yeah, I see, that's normally easy flatness. So let's see what he does. Yeah, he's turned it too aggressively. You see, he actually dropped it before he got to the curb. Yeah. So he's turned it too aggressively, and then put too much weight on the outside front, unloaded the rear of the car, and then he upset himself greatly.
Yes, that's the kind of mistake you tend to see from a front-wheel drive car on cold tyres, isn't it? But you'd imagine they've got some temperature into the rears. These cars are rear-wheel drive, of course, so the rears should warm up faster than the front. Anyway, he lost control, he gained control and rejoined, but lost a lot of ground. Sansom back up the inside of Scripo, and this time makes it stick. Tricky place to overtake into the chicane, isn't it?
It is, and I'll tell you what else you have to do. If you're going to get overtaken there, you have to know when you're done. And Scripo there didn't know he was done, so he tried to hang it on the outside, and then look what happened. He's got overtaken again. He compromised his exit. Is he going to hang on? He's held the inside this time, but look how much time he lost. He exposed himself by trying to hang on. When you're overtaken, let the other guy go. He's going to get a worse exit than you. That way you can get a cutback.
Yeah, Gary Wager there trying to take advantage of that, and also Robin Grimwood in the white and blue number 50 car, who goes right around the outside of Gary Wager. Can he pick this place up? This is for, I think, 9th position this will be now after Mark Lee's half spin. You can see Mark at the back of this queue, the black 99 car did recover. Grimwood's got the inside on Gary Wager into Redgate corner though, and is going to go ahead. So in the end, Wager was trying to gain a position, ended up losing one, which again is so often the case in this category at this particular circuit. If your attempted overtake is unsuccessful, then you're very likely to end up coming under pressure from the cars behind. In GRDC, Brendan Ward is indeed still leading. It's Stephen Docker now second there, so he's got himself ahead of Graham Bishop as back towards the sharp end of the field. Fifth position here, Roy Alderslade, number 70. Owen Hizzy, 74. Hizzy is a man transformed in this race. He ran over that curb in race 1, dislodged the front bodywork. You were saying, Graham, what an issue and the challenges that might throw his way. Now that he's got that reattached and he can see where he's going, he's showing his true pace.
He is. It's a funny thing to say, but you can tell by watching the body language of the car that he's on a mission. He's got his head down even. If you look in the cockpit, he's actually even got his head down in go-karter-like style. And I think everyone knows he's coming. Look, here we go. This is going to be clear signals. The bloke's already almost conceded. I think he'll be racing up probably at least another 2 or 3 positions in the next 2 or 3 laps. He's on a mission.
Yeah, well, they're not that far behind Ignacio Zanon in 4th, so if he clears Alderslade quickly, he could definitely get 4th, and with over half the race to go yet, might even have the pace to chase down Chris White for a podium. At the head of the field, by the way, Tom Golding 1.3 seconds clear of Giles Dawson already, and they are 3.4 seconds clear of Chris White, just proving this point that Golding and Dawson collectively are the class of the field this year. This fight is getting ever more intense now as Owen Hizzy is getting a bit impatient here, wants to get past Alderslade as quickly as possible. Alderslade maybe hasn't quite conceded this one just yet.
No, you're right.
And he is keeping Hizzy at bay. Hizzy's got a bit of a slipstream down that pit straight. Now they're racing into a bit of a headwind down towards Redgate Corner. That will have an effect on the slipstream, won't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, look, these cars aren't too towy. I've driven them myself. In a Caterham, a circuit like this, you get 2 seconds a lap out of a tow. In this, we're talking tenths. In actual fact, and if you're in the heat of battle, to be honest with you, the tow in the heat of battle, it's not such a big deal. Probably what you can achieve psychologically, keeping a strong head, is probably more important. Yeah, I mean, you see here, sorry, the amount of curb, you were talking earlier about riding the curbs there. What is that, number 96, took an awful lot of curb, upset the car. Now he's got to run wide on the exit as well, so you have to be smooth.
Yeah, that's 96 John Curry, who was over the curve.
He was an ice skater, I think, wasn't he?
Something like that. I've seen him in a few things. Yes, he rattled over the curb, but did not lose control and managed to stay out of trouble. Owen Hizzy has also managed to get ahead of Roy Alderslade, and he is now into 5th position. The gap to Zanon up the road, well, it was 9/10 at the start of the lap. It's probably just over a second now. But watch the way that Hizzy already is starting to get ahead, get away from the number 70 car. And clear air is just so valuable. As soon as you break through, you feel like you're released, but it's so tempting then, isn't it, to push a bit too hard, especially if you've been stuck behind someone, getting held up, losing time. You've finally broken through. The worst thing you can do then is push too hard, make a mistake and give the place back. So
very true. And what's going to be interesting to see now is that Zanon will immediately be looking in his mirrors because he knows, oh, hang on, what was I about to say? Unbelievably, Alderslade has done an amazing job and actually got back past him.
I don't think Hizzy saw that coming either, and we certainly didn't. So Roy Alderslade might have made this one stick. Hizzy had his nose ahead on the line, but he's on the outside into Redgate. Now you can brave it round the outside.
He's not going to. He might even go off the way he's... Okay, is he going to get the cutback or something? No, he's got a bad exit.
No, he's not going to get it, is he? So Alderslade, well, yeah, judged that to perfection and is back through into 5th position, and well, maybe that was the opposite for Hizzy. Maybe he got too complacent.
I think you're right.
I've got the pace to pull away and didn't bother defending.
Yeah, but you can get nonchalant, you can. And look, let's be candid. One of them is very young, only just turned 17. The other one's a little bit older. He's in the chairman's cup, and there can be, let's be candid, a little bit of out of my way, old man. Not looking in your rear view mirrors. Who knew? There's life in the old dog yet.
Yes, no, absolutely. And Owen Hizzy knows he's a quick racer, and definitely someone who's looking to try and move up the ranks. And this is obviously the ideal place to start your motor racing journey, really, if you want to have a career in, be it tin tops or GT cars. Entering the Ginetta G40 Cup is not a bad way to go about starting off. The GRDC battling is as intense as ever here. Rupert Laslett and Mark Warren are fighting over the rookie lead. Yes, they are. And up the inside goes Mark Warren, the championship leader, with an absolute peach of a manoeuvre up the inside into McLean's. It's the old Matt Neal move, isn't it? That late lunge, get to the apex, stop the car. No contact on that occasion, it must be said. And it's also going to allow the number 13 car to come through, which is Brendan Hafner, into second in class. Again, you lose one place, it's very easy to lose two.
I tell you, it absolutely sucks when you get overtaken, but let me tell you what it feels like when you get overtaken twice. It's humiliating. and you kick yourself about it. He'll be kicking himself for at least a lap, telling himself to put his eyes forward and try and focus again. But as you say, if you keep on battling people, if you don't defend and battle at the same time, well, this is what happens. Now look, Hizzy's got away finally. Okay, come on, Hizzy, keep your head down. But Alderslade, he's punchy, isn't he? He's punchy now with Sansom.
Yeah, exactly. They've held each other up, and so Mark Sansom has now caught. This is why they've held each other up. They went side by side into the chicane. Did they make contact? Oh, a little bit. Alderslade over the curbs. Now, Hizzy didn't actually get through there, so I'm guessing there was another lunge then into the next corner. But yes, that has delayed them and brought Mark Sansom into play. So Sansom in 6th position, who was ahead of Alderslade at the line, actually, so he's back down to 7th now because Roy has been able to fend him off once again. Paolo Scripo and Robin Grimwood are also closing in. And so this battle is going to continue to get tastier and tastier, I think, as we move into the final, well, now just over 4.5 minutes of the race.
Yeah, Scripo, I've been watching him with interest. I mean, you have to remember, this guy got an overall podium at Brands Hatch, albeit in a shorter race. And then we watched him in the last race at Brands Hatch, and he really struggled with his racecraft. He's come to this weekend, and he's not really been on the pace. I think he's clearly someone that has the potential to be fast, but you can see that you need seat time. You need to do as much racing as you can. There's no substitute for physical racing. You can't get that on a sim. You can't get that on a test day. And I think what we're seeing is someone that has the potential that, as I say, just needs to focus probably more on his technique than anything else.
Yeah,
he can do it. Just needs to do it all the time.
Yes, which is easier said than done, obviously, and different tracks will suit different drivers. Obviously, Donington Park rather a different beast to Brands Hatch, the Grand Prix circuit we were at a few weeks ago. Tom Golding's quite good everywhere, though, really, isn't he? He's not really encountered a bad track this year. Yeah,
should I tell you what he's doing right now? This is race driver thoughts for you. So he's just done a 1 minute 48.1, but in the last race, he did a 1 minute 48 dead. I guarantee you he wants a 1 minute 47 something. I have driven round pointlessly, needlessly, for hours on end, trying to get the last 1,000th of a second so you can say you've done, in this case, a 47. Honestly, he won't even be looking in his mirror anymore. He is only focused on trying to get a 47. I guarantee it.
Well, he went 1.4 seconds quicker in race 2 than he did in race 1 even, so he has been getting quicker as the weekend's gone on, but yeah, he's not quite down to the pace that he had in the previous race. He is, though, still 6 3/4 seconds ahead of Giles Dawson in second. And then, look, empty track for another 10 seconds back to Chris White, who is continuing to have quite a lonely time. Ignacio Zanon can't quite catch him, but nor can White keep up with the leaders. Wide for Scripo. That hurts his exit speed there from McLean's. He was just about to start applying the pressure to Mark Sansom, I think, but now he's fallen back into the clutches of Robin Grimwood behind. And Scripo, we're going to see a replay here, first of all, of some GRDC shenanigans. I think the number 69 car loses it going down into the Melbourne Head. That's Peter Dillnott, and cars scatter to avoid him. It wasn't exactly obvious which way that car was going then either, so quite scary moments for the cars following. Yeah,
you always get trained as a race driver to go where the car, where it currently isn't as such. So you try, if you see it going to the outside, go to the inside and so on, but it's so hard to guess it. But let me tell you what's going on inside his head. It's absolutely awful. When you drop it, the first thing you think is, I hope no one was filming that. It's true.
Yes. No, it was all caught on camera, I'm afraid. And
do a replay.
Yeah, exactly, yes. We can show a slow-mo replay, that's our heart's content, which I'm sure he'd be thrilled at. But yes, there's no escaping the eye of our cameras here at Donington Park. We've got everything covered, and bringing you some more fantastic coverage of the Ginetta G40 Cup in its final race of the weekend. Now, things are just calming down a bit in this little battle, aren't they? You've got Alderslade getting away from Sansom. Sansom's got back away from Scripo after his moment that he had up at McLean's at the end of the previous lap. And as we get into the end of the what's been a busy weekend, they get a decent amount of track time. The races are only 15 minutes long, but they've had qualifying. A lot of them were here testing earlier in the week as well. I suppose by the time you get to the end of the weekend, it does take it out of you, doesn't it?
It does. You know, sometimes you can lose. Oh, sorry, who's number 13? He just lost the back of the car. Hafner just had a big moment on the way in. He'll get punished now, and probably Warren might get a run at him at turn 1. But yeah, on a typical race weekend, and I'm talking British GT here, I'll lose 3 kilos in fluid. Stick it all back on in cake when I get home. But it's it is very physical, and you need to train. You need to train. You need to top up your fluids. Very, very important. Then we're going to see just what's this. Oh, my goodness.
Yes. I was about to say, so Mark Warren, the 27 car, was leading the rookie class at the start of that lap, but he was third by the end of it, and that presumably is how he started to lose ground. Back into the lead of the class has gone the 13 of Rupert Laslet, despite that moment he had at Goddard's, and into second place has now gone Brendan Hafney. Into second place has now gone Rupert Laslet, the black number 5 car. So it's all changed in the rookie category. They're also racing with Graham Bishop, who is also a GRDC competitor, but not a rookie. So this is for a class lead within the GRDC class, and they're all absolutely together going through McLean's, and that wide line attempted by Laslet could end up costing him second place. No, not quite. He carried enough speed off the corner to keep Stephen Docker behind. Very entertaining battle. I think all 3 of them have had a turn in the class lead at one point or another.
Yeah, you know what I was saying, how you really, when you make a mistake, you spin, you don't want to get caught up by cameras. I'm telling you now that Warren, that was an epic save. And there'll be a little bit of him that's in there saying, I hope people saw that, because whilst he lost positions, I mean, honestly, I don't know how he held on to that. I mean, I don't know if it was skill or luck, but that was extraordinary. What we got here, Samson having a go at Skripo.
Yeah, this is for 7th place, and he might finally be about to go through. These two seem to have been tied together all race. No, he still hasn't got it done. So he's suffering now from exactly the same thing that Skripo was suffering from at Brands Hatch. He can kind of get alongside the car in front, but not actually complete the manoeuvre.
Maybe the bin bag on the front of his car slowing him down. But what are we at now? We're on the last lap. Look at what Golding just did. What did I tell you? 47.6. I've been watching him while we've been talking. As we see Laslet get it a bit wrong at the S's and then drive through the gravel. That's not a good idea. But I've been watching him chip away at every single sector. He's not on new tyres here. These tyres have done 3 races this weekend and quali, and he's just managed to do a 47.6. Next fastest lap, Dawson, 49.7.
That's incredible, isn't it? He is a class above everybody else, is Tom Golding, and he is about to come through to take another race win. It will be the second time this year that he has swept the weekend, 3 race victories from 3. But this is the most important one, because with Giles Dawson in second place, provisionally, Tom Golding is your 2020 Ginetta G40 Cup champion, and what a dominant way to do it. He got that fastest lap that he wanted as well, the fastest race lap of the weekend, and he, in the end, was untouchable here at Donington Park, as he has been through most of the season. Giles Dawson comes home in second, gave it everything he had. It just wasn't quite enough. There's a car off, I noticed, in the background as well, with quite a lot of damage. You can see that halfway down the exhibition straight. Get to that in a moment anyway. Chris White, his 3rd solid weekend for him, and I think he's quite happy with that. 4th place goes to Ignacio Zanon. 5th for Owen Hizzy. Again, he's got lots to be pleased with after that race. Then it's Roy Alderslade and Mark Sanson. Paolo Skripo. No,
that's Fleming that's on the side of the road there, and he's lost the rear wheel.
Yes, we've also lost Mark Sanson by the looks of it, so I don't know if the two are linked, but Mark Sanson has not come through at the end of the final lap.
You should be a detective.
well, no, mine. They'll be 2 completely different incidents, but it seems coincidence that they've both gone missing at the same time.
Very unusual to see a car. He's effectively on the straight there. That's Starkey straight. Missing a wheel, I mean, you have to assume foul play, don't you?
Yes, there must be another car involved. I don't think he's hit a wall, so there's
no wall to hit there.
No, exactly.
Here we go. There's something coming. We're going to sit in the background. There
that's Sansom, isn't it? Yeah.
He's going to come round and collect him.
So Sansom rejoins.
Wait for it.
Oh, no. Well, that is unfortunate. How do you read that one?
Yeah, I mean, to be quite frank, inexcusable rejoin. He should have been looking... Look, he's already ruined his race. He's dropped it all by himself. He needed to just sit there. It's the last lap. His race is over. He's just pulled straight back onto the circuit. He's caused a huge amount of damage for Fleming, who was a perfectly innocent bystander. I think he will get absolutely reprimanded for that. No doubt about it.
Well, there you go. That's a shame for Mark, who had a good race up until that point, but we were right to presume that the two were linked. I was doubting it because they were nowhere near each other on track, but in the end they kind of were. So Mark Sanson then involved in some late drama, but no late drama for Tom Golding. He is your provisional G40 Cup champion. Also, Stephen Docker and Mark Warren are your provisional GRDC and GRDC rookie champions respectively. So it's only the Chairman's Cup then, at least provisionally, that has not yet been decided. Golding then the champion and the race winner for the 3rd time this weekend. Giles Dawson 2nd and Chris White in 3rd. Ignacio Zanon is 4th, with Owen Hizzy rounding out that top 5 ahead of Roy Alderslade and Paolo Skripo. Robin Grimwood is next. Gary Wager benefits, of course, from the dramas in front of him on the final lap. And then Neil Wallace rounds out the top 10. Mark Lee was 11th after his earlier off. Adam Croft was 12th after his off in the previous race. And John Curry is in in 13th place. GRDC is won by Brendan Maud, with Stephen Docker second, but second place was enough, we think, to wrap up the championship. Graham Bishop in third position in the class. And then the rookies, Brendan Hafner held on to the win in the end in the rookie category ahead of Mark Warren and Thomas Holland. Then it was Guillaume Lemur in 20th place overall, fourth in class, ahead of Moore. Laslett dropped way down the order after that off at the chicane towards the end of the race. And then the non-finishers and cars classified one lap down. So Mark Sansom and Sean Fleming we saw coming together on the last lap. Peter Dillnott was a lap down. So was Joe Butterworth, John Wyatt and Andrew Cohen-Ray. Highlights then of the final race of the weekend for the Ginetta G40 Cup that saw Tom Golding lead from lights to flag to take a commanding race victory. There was no similar wheel-to-wheel battle between he and Dawson that we saw in the previous race. It was a clear advantage for Golding going into Redgate this time, and he led the field out of the tight right-hander. In GRDC, another good start for the pole sitter, the number 55 of Brendan Maud, and he led the field into Redgate as well. Whilst there was some early drama on cold tyres for Mark Lee through the Craner curves, half spun the car onto the left-hand side of the road, but a really good job of avoiding a full rotation. He then started to work his way back through the order, attacking John Curry into Redgate corner and picking his way past a couple of drivers with relative ease. One of the best battles was the one between the number 70 of Roy Alderslade and the number 74 of Owen Hizzy, who was a lot pacier this time than he was in his damaged car in the previous race. But just as Hizzy thought he'd got past Alderslade, Alderslade fought back and got him back again into Redgate corner, and their scrap would eventually allow Mark Sansom to close in and join in the fun as well. Izzy had another go on the inside into the chicane and was able to get through, although a little bit of paint was traded between the two of them, with eventually being completed into the hairpin. A spin for number 69, Peter Dillnott, down at the Melbourne hairpin. Other drivers doing a good job of avoiding the rotating car, which again continued with no damage. And then there was a spin for Stephen Docker, who was able to wrap up the GRDC title in this race, but not after a faultless race, it must be said. One or two mistakes along the way. So too for Rupert Laslett, who went straight on at the chicane and then spun as he tried to rejoin the circuit, which is always quite embarrassing. Then on the last lap, Mark Sansom had a spin at Coppice, rejoined and collected the innocent Sean Fleming, putting them both out of the race. No doubt that will be a talking point afterwards. But it was Tom Golding that took the race victory and provisionally is your champion in the Ginetta G40 Cup. Congratulations to him and to Stephen Docker and Mark Warren on their championship successes in GRDC. Thanks for joining us here at Donington Park.